Wednesday, September the 13th. Lake level is about the same as it was last week. It's just a few inches below 917, which is normal summer pool. Water temperature is actually cooling down quite a bit, and it's finally starting to help a little bit the last few days. But this morning, water temperature about 75 degrees, about 76 when I got off. But it looks like, weather's going to warm back up. We're going to get into some 90s, so probably going to go back up. But, it's been really tough. And I think the shallow bite's getting a little bit better. September and October, to me, is some of the toughest fishing on Table Rock because you can catch them from 2 foot as far as out to 50 foot. The deep bite hasn't been working very well. It's been hard to get on a good concentration of drop shot fish or football jig fish. And it seems like the shallow fish are biting good for a couple hours in the morning, unless you get the right conditions. And what I mean by the right conditions, a little bit of wind and clouds, or both. But wind as much as anything, especially for a spinnerbait. But in the morning, I've been catching them on a spinnerbait, on a War Eagle, either 3/8 ounce or ½ ounce, or even what they call a Screaming Eagle, which is a ½ ounce bait with 1/4 ounce blades. A lot of different colors will work. The mouse will work, the hot mouse. This one here I think is blue heron. And just covering a lot of water on the bank and actually there's no specific spot I'm getting bit. I'm starting at the mouths of the creeks and the pockets and working almost to the back. I might get a couple fish by the points and the others will come halfway back in. But what seems to be the only thing that seems to be the same is the type of rock I'm fishing. Seems like whether I'm throwing the spinnerbait or the crankbait or the jig, I want almost a 45-degree bank where I can set out there in about 10 to 12 feet, and I'm about 15 foot away from the bank or so, and chunk rock seems to be the best. Now, there's still quite a few bushes in the water and buckbrush, and what we're doing is just kind of paralleling the bank with the spinnerbait. Just 2 or 3 different things I'm throwing in the morning on these banks: a spinnerbait, crankbait, and a jig. Today, the jig, I had one good keeper smallmouth right off the bat on the spinnerbait. Then I think in the next few hours we caught 12, which about half of them were keepers. And we caught them on jigs. And I was throwing a 3/8 ounce, let's see, I got another one here, and a ½ ounce. One is kind of like a California 420. It's got a few strands of black with green in it, and that's a pig sticker jig. This other one is a Bobby Albert jig. It's a 3/8 ounce, and it's got kind of like a bluegill skirt. And you can use any kind of twin tail. I've got Zoom speed craws on both of these for trailers. Now I'm flipping in the buckbrush or in the bushes, but more fish seem to be coming just right out in front of the bushes. They're about 5, 6 foot deep. The bite was, been pretty decent on it as far as they're not hammering the jig, but if you pay real close attention to your line, the fish will pick it up and start swimming with it. And they are holding on to it pretty good. And the majority of them, like what we caught this morning, were largemouths. Most everything I'm catching up shallow has been either largemouths or smallmouths. And, kind of all over the lake. I was in the mid-James today. I'll be up at Shell Knob tomorrow. And the dam area, kind of the same thing. But like I said, the last couple days, the shallow bite has got a little bit more consistent. But if you don't have any wind or clouds like today, after about 9 o'clock it gets real tough. But if you concentrate on some of that same depth, the boat docks on them steeper banks, and usually about 15 foot to the bank, just fish the shaded side of the bank, the docks, with either a Texas rig worm, a shaky head, or one of these jigs, and be real patient, cast back into the shade of everything underneath the boats and the lift. You can get some bites on a jig throughout the day, but you really got to work at it. I have been catching some on a football jig still, but I got to hit 3, 4 points to get a couple fish. They're not real consistent. My drop shot fish seem like they've moved out a little bit deeper. I've caught some in the last few days from 25 to 30 feet. I've talked to some of my buddies that say they're catching them out over deep trees, in 60 to 70 foot of water where the trees come up to 30 foot from the surface. I haven't got that bite going. I haven't found it. I've tried several areas where I can normally catch them. Doesn't seem like I can find the fish out there or get bit. Now there's also been a topwater bite for the first couple hours of the morning. And this fish schooling, like, up in Long Creek area, up in Brushy, there's been fish schooling around some of those deep boat docks. And they're schooling up in that deep water, where there's submerged timber. And they're staying up, till about 8 o'clock or so. They're kind of fussy on what they want to bite, but seems like little baits are working better for me, like a little poplar or a little spook, chug bug. And another thing that's been working is a underspin has been working out there, or a straight swim bait. I've just kind of been mixing it up. But the problem with going out there with them schooling fish, you got about an hour and a half. If you don't catch them, then you give up on running the bank with the spinnerbait and crankbait and the jig. And I've had a little bit better success, staying on the bank or fairly close to the bank. And they've been on, a lot of the banks I'm looking for, like I said earlier, were 45-degree chunk rock banks, preferably creeks that got little guts and little swings in them. And when you got a 45-degree bank like that, the places that still have bushes, some of the bushes still got 2-3 foot of water in them. So I would flip through the bush and out in front of them. As the day goes on, then fish seem to back out a little bit deeper. And today, when that kind of shut down on us, we just backed the boat back out on some of the same banks. It set the boat about 20 feet, 25 feet, and cast it in. We caught some on a wobblehead. This is a pig sticker, pig rig, but I got a Zoom Magnum finesse worm. And this color's been working real good. It's a California 420. I think it's a special run, because the only place I've been able to find them is Sportsman Factory outlet. But a straight green pumpkin or watermelon candy will work too. And I'd also throw the football jig in the same place. I'm usually throwing a 1/2 ounce or 5/8, casting it, within about 5 to 10 feet from the bank and working it out to the boat in that 20-25 foot. And I've been able to get some, continue to get bites. It's by no means fast and furious, but most of the fish we're catching doing that are fairly decent fish. And another thing you can do in the morning as well, instead of throwing a jig or a crankbait, is just throw a little Ned rig, for a couple hours on them same 45-degree chunk rock banks. But myself, I like the jig a little bit better because I can fish it on heavier line and I don't get hung up as much as I do with the Ned rig. So I think with this water temperature cooling down, like I say, the bite has picked up for me. The quality's getting a little bit better. I don't know what's going to happen with the weather this week. We start getting back in the high 90s again. But it's kind of a typical fall. You got to fish anywhere from 2 feet to 50 foot. It's just the way it is on Table Rock. Nothing seems to be consistent every day. It changes. So until next week, good luck, good fishing.